how large is the aid for Ukraine this year, and what is it of overall US budget expenditures in percentage, if you can?
Okay, well, the aid package that is right now is being stuck in the Congress. That is a good $60 billion, and you think it's a huge sum, but really, truth be told, overall it isn't. The entirety of Ukraine of aid for Ukraine amounts to about 5% of the military budget, and that is not a lot considering how much the United States is getting out of it.
Exactly.
Now, an interesting fact here is that 90, and according to some experts, even more than 90% of this aid actually stays in the United States. So you can ultimately look at it as the money that is being transferred from the left pocket to the right pocket. How does this happen? How does the aid,
Well, absolutely. I mean, well, maybe Ukrainian media and international media have to put more effort to educate Americans that they are actually investing in themselves.
Absolutely. This has been clear for the last 2 years. The weapons that America is providing, that is the weapons that is produced in the United States. So all the rockets, all the ammunition, that is American-made. Who is making it? American companies. And American companies that produce arms, they're spread pretty evenly across the United States. So ultimately, you would think that practically every congressman is really interested in the money that is given, and given has to be in quotation marks, that is given to Ukraine, because the people who benefit, first of all, are American workers. And let me tell you that the weapon production is a skilled business. People who are involved in the production of arms are receiving decent salaries, because you need to have a lot of engineering and a lot of skilled workers. So people are paying taxes. At the same time, towns around the factories where arms are produced, they actually are thriving. And this has been basically a well-kept secret from American public. And it's not quite clear why the administration just right now woke up and started telling Americans, look, we're not really giving any money away. We're actually improving not only our economy, but we also are improving our defense capabilities, because we're giving Ukraine old arms, we're replacing it with new arms. We always had to support our war machinery, because we always need to have defense mechanisms. And now actually it's doing some good. So you would think that the American public would be all for it. But there are other aspects, basically the demagogical aspects, the populist rhetoric that is standing between what is really good for America. Ultimately, it's standing between the common sense and mythological kind of thinking.
Well, mythological kind of thinking is all about what Trump audiences are waiting from him. I believe so. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Trump's audience, ultimately, well, it's the right-wing audience. America is not alone in this regard. We see the same right-wing rise all over Europe. And what the audience really wants is a heightened sense of community that happens as the result of perception of some kind of an enemy. Ultimately, it's the forging of national identity through the perceived sense of the enemy. And who is the enemy? Trump's lingo? It's the immigrants. And it's the immigrants from Central America. And this is where his main slogan came from, build that wall. So now we see Republicans are playing up to this idea. And this is what's happening in Congress right now. The congressmen understand that it's unreasonable, but they're doing it to please the base.
All right, what do you think about Mike Johnson and that Mexican border security? Is that some kind of, they're using the Ukraine as a leverage for obviously reason, that's politics, but is that situation on the Mexican border, is it really that dangerous? Is that an issue for America?
Okay, well, right now, frankly, it is and it isn't. The border is pretty much a mess. Everybody agrees with it. I spoke myself to about a number of people who have just gone through the process, and you can see it's a mess. Some people from the same families actually either spent 3 days in prison on the border, other languish in prison for months. There is also a very disorderly way of settling the refugees.
Right.
For example, there are states like Texas and Florida that are now busing the immigrants to the northern cities. In New York alone, and this is where I live when I don't teach in the South. In New York alone, there's 60,000 new arrivals just recently. And that's a significant number for any city. And you actually can see the immigrants. You see them on the subway, you see them in the streets. A lot of, you know that these people are having difficulties adjusting. And by the way, in New York, you cannot just say to the refugees, just do whatever you want. We don't care about you. You can sleep in the streets. No, there is a law that makes the city provide shelter, provide food, and actually provide medical assistance. So it's a very expensive proposition. Now, nonetheless, it is an artificial issue because there are towns that are dying, literally dying to have refugees, and dying because they don't have enough people, and dying because they don't have enough industry, and they really want desperately to have people. Those towns could certainly enjoy an influx of new workers. That happens not to be New York. So in other words, the process is very disorderly. Having said that, is there really a threat to America? Absolutely not, at least not at this point. If you listen to the economists, most of the American economists agree that actually countries that have an influx of workers do much better economically. And no, the new immigrants do not depress wages. That is just not true. They tend to do the kind of jobs that the local Americans do not care to do, and there is a lot of studies to that effect. So it is a manufactured crisis that is mostly happening in the heads of the right-wing politicians.